This is the Doctor, President-elect of the High Council of Time Lords.
I am definitely a madman with a box.
Anyone for jelly, baby?
I'm the Doctor. I'm 904 years old. I'm from the planet Gallifrey in the constellation of Castabras.
Hey Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And we're at episode 87.
87.
I love it that that's become a staple of the intro now.
I wish I didn't do it because I just can't think of things to do every week.
Well, you can't stop it now.
I know.
It's a train. You've started a train.
I'm caught in a temporal loop. Yeah, I'm just yeah.
Caught in a
Can't keep
temporal.
going.
Caught in
I
a
was thinking
temporal.
I might just do the classic robot from now on.
Yeah.
87 big blue box. If I could, I'd do the voice of the cyber leader from Tomb. That would be the ultimate, but I just can't get my vocal range up there.
Well, I thought you were going to dig out your voice
coda.
changing Cyberman helmet thing.
Oh yeah. I must dig that out.
Is
Yeah.
that photo you put on Facebook recently was very good. Just you at work with the Cyberman helmet on.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I did crop it as well because when I very first posted that, because of the way I'm sat, my shirt button at the bottom is kind of really tight, and so the first comment I got was, "I'm not sure what's more scary, that your Cyberman head or the shirt button about to explode from the bottom." I was like, "Yeah, I've put on a bit of weight."
Cybermen got to eat too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's a little overweight Cyberman. I was trying to think of a Star Wars quote there. Isn't he a little tubby for a Cyberman?
Oh, very good.
Yeah, but it doesn't work.
Very good. Not Doctor Who related, but I assume everyone's got their Star Wars The Force Awakens DVDs and Blu-rays.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've watched it 3 times this week.
Have you?
Yes.
Oh, you lucky beggar.
Yeah. The first time I watched it, I thought, yes. I just can't get enough of it, and I watched it again straight after. So, like, back to back.
Right.
Force Awakens, it's awesome.
And I'm assuming you've crossed to the dark side for your limited edition cover?
Indeed.
Same. What does that say about us?
What does that say? I knew you would get the dark side as well.
Of course, there was never any doubt. I was never going to go for the dark
No.
side. The dark side looks better with the black and the writing, and
It just looks
Gotta
more
be the
Star
dark.
Warsy.
it does,
Doesn't it?
Yeah, it has to be the dark side. Yeah, I've got mine as well. Very, very pleased. I do feel sorry though for anyone that doesn't have a Blu-ray player, because shockingly, the DVD doesn't have any extras at all, which I
Indeed.
think's a little bit stingy, isn't it?
It's a bit harsh, isn't it?
It's a bit harsh.
Yeah, because you at least expect to have even something small like the deleted scenes. There's only about 5 or 6 of those.
Yeah.
You'd at least put that on there. But yeah, bit harsh from, I don't know who to blame these days. Is it Lucasfilm, Disney?
Well, I kind of
Not
just
sure.
think, like, I know they're trying to push people over to Blu-ray, and I know most people nowadays have a Blu-ray, but I know friends that haven't got Blu-rays that have that bought it on DVD, and I just feel a bit sorry for them not getting anything at all. But yeah,
There you go.
Disney, there you go. But it's a sign of the times. It's quite commonplace now, isn't it? They just shove everything on the Blu-rays.
Yeah. Well, there's the UHD, the Ultra High Def 4K Blu-ray stuff has launched very recently. I think Panasonic have just brought out their first 4K UHD player.
Oh,
And
nice.
4K TVs are very much the thing now. So I think DVD will get even more sort of phased out very quickly these days and thrown into the abyss, the media abyss.
I wouldn't be surprised. One thing that I hadn't realised until I got back home from purchasing the Force Awakens is that there's no 3D version of it. And of course, it was 3D at the cinema. Now, to be honest with you, I probably wouldn't have bought the 3D anyway because I'm not a big 3D fan.
Me too.
But is
Yeah.
that because they're going to do some big, expensive 3D version later in the year? Because I just suddenly realised, it's not even out on 3D.
That's correct. The 3D version is out in October. September or October, I believe. So like anything with Star Wars, you're going to have to buy this 3 or 4 times to get the version you want. But
And I bet that'll
There we
have about 3 different versions of that as well, I should imagine.
of course, yeah. And a few
Yeah.
more extras that you didn't get before and different slip cover and all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't mind so much actually. The only thing that does bug me actually about some of the big movies, I think they did it with the last Star Trek film, is they sometimes spread out the extras over different mediums. So, for example, like the Blu-ray, there was a Sainsbury's exclusive where you got loads of like an extra disc, and then there was even more extras on iTunes that you could only get on iTunes, and there was like another version where you got the extras. They sort of spread them out, and I don't like that because it's just like, I want one set with everything on it. I don't want to have to buy bits of it off iTunes. So that's the only thing that does bug me,
right?
When they do stuff like that. Yeah,
it is annoying.
It is, but it's all money, and it's all money,
yeah.
money.
Anyways, this is not a Star Wars podcast.
No, it's not.
It is not. It is a Doctor Who podcast, and it is slow times at the moment for old Who. So hopefully we're keeping you going. Once a week, we're giving you a little bit of Doctor Who sunshine to keep you alive until we get some decent news. I know there's some companion news which is bubbling away, which is due to be. I keep reading every week about Companion's going to be announced this week and all this stuff, but it still hasn't come. So I think that might be a little way off yet. But I think that's going to be the biggest thing that we're waiting on at the moment.
I thought we might have got there by now. I must admit, I kind of thought it was imminent, but no, we're still waiting because they must start filming soon, surely.
You would
Next
think
month.
so. Yep, you would think so. So I think it's going to be. I think they'll leave it to the last minute. I've got a feeling they're going to do an on-set photo of this person and announce it. Then I don't think it will be weeks before. I've just got a feeling.
Who's this actress on Twitter that keeps posting pictures, and she's really sort of making the most of the fact that she's rumoured to be the companion? And then she keeps posting like fan-made posters of her and Capaldi saying, calm down guys, it's fan-made, don't, nothing's announced yet. And I'm thinking either she's really reveling in the fact she's like rumoured, or she's got it and she just can't wait to tell everyone.
Yeah, I know, Human. her name escapes me. I saw like...
Is she a soap actress? Because that would explain why I don't know her, because I don't watch any of the soaps.
I believe so.
Right, that's why I don't know who she is then.
I don't follow her, but I've seen people retweet some of her things, and it's a bit, I wouldn't read too much into that.
No, okay.
Yeah. Big birthday today.
Yes, on the day we're recording, yes.
Old Madge. Literally old Madge.
Yeah.
Yeah, our monarch celebrates 90 years. That shouldn't be
saluting.
That shouldn't be our national anthem, should it?
Well,
it's so sucky. Why don't we have Land of Hope and Glory? It's such a more uplifting, more patriotic as a country. I think so.
Yeah. So happy birthday to your Majesty.
Happy
90
birthday,
years young today.
Old Madge. I reckon she's going to be in a movie this year.
What, Bond? The Bond movie, or
no?
Oh,
fans of Roald Dahl. If you ever read the BFG as a kid,
oh yeah.
Steven Spielberg's version of that is out in a couple of months' time, and she plays a decent role towards the end. So I'm not saying that the actual Queen will be in the movie, but our Queen will be in there somewhere.
Is that bloke still alive? Do you remember that guy that used to be around in the 80s?
Is that bloke
that
still alive?
Impersonated the Queen. Do you know they used to sort of drag him onto all the shows in the 80s? Do you remember that guy?
Impersonating the Queen?
He didn't even really look like the Queen, but it's just like this sort of this old guy that just used to come on dressed as the Queen, and if ever they had like a comedy where the Queen was meant to be in it, they'd always get him in. No, you can't think. Maybe you're too young.
I don't know.
To remember. He might even be the one, and I'm not sure, but he might even be the one in Silver Nemesis. We get that quick shot of the Queen with walking the corgis in Silver Nemesis.
Oh, yes. Yep.
That might be him. There was this guy that was around in that era that always impersonated the Queen.
Can't say I know, mate.
So he probably is 90 by now, at least. So maybe they'll get him.
Maybe.
Yeah. So I'm sure there must be at least one other listener out there that knows who I'm talking about.
Oh, they're bound to be, yeah.
Somebody
send us a tweet just to put Adam's mind at rest.
Yeah.
Tweet or Facebook or something, let us know about this old guy that impersonates the Queen.
Yeah.
There we go.
If you saw a picture of him, I bet you'd know. You'd be like, "Oh, him! Oh God, I remember him."
Oh,
He's
that
in everything.
guy.
Like
Yeah.
some mothers do have them, anything like that. That just had to have the Queen in it. It's always him.
I
So,
got the
yeah.
box set of that a couple of months ago and I haven't watched it yet.
Some mothers do have them.
Yeah.
What
What a fantastic show that used to be. Anyways,
Yeah. Before we, this is not a Some Mothers Do Have Them podcast.
indeed. What have you been up to, buddy, in the last week? Anything Doctor Who related?
Yes. Yes, I have. I say that with authority because last week, as you know, I had no time to breathe with my job. So this week I have found time to listen to the first 2 episodes of You Will Obey Me, the new Big Finish audio, which is it's the first one in the Master trilogy.
Oh, of course.
That they're
yes.
bringing out. Yeah. So You Will Obey Me, and this one's with the 5th Doctor, Peter Davison. I was really hoping I might have got round to listening to the parts 3 and 4 before we recorded, but sadly not. But I will say this. I've really enjoyed the first 2 parts, so I'm hoping that the second 2 are as good because, it's the first one from the monthly range I've bought in a little while. I used to subscribe to the monthly range, but I just couldn't afford it to renew it this time round. So I've kind of missed out on a little batch. And I hear the quality has been a bit hit and miss as well. So this is first one I bought because I want to get this trilogy.
Cool.
But yeah, very good what I've listened to so far. A few dodgy Russian accents, I have to say. Sometimes Big Finish, they get their extras in to do these voices and they're not always the best. But that aside, yeah, pretty good. So I have managed to cram in a bit of Who. I have been also waiting by the post box
Oh, no.
for the last 2 weeks,
Oh,
waiting for my Spearhead from Space Steelbook. Does anybody know
oh no. Hold on.
what's
Oh,
going on with it? Because I know a lot of people are in the same boat. I see a lot of people tweeting Zavi saying, it's well past the release date. It's vanished from the website. What's going on?
yeah.
And bizarrely enough, just literally before we were about to record this morning, something happened, didn't it, Gary?
Yeah, I don't want to say it now because you're potentially a bit miffed about this.
It's a good job we're not in the same room.
I would have got a black eye by now.
Well,
I
yeah, I
think-
just would have been like, look over there. And then you'd turn around and it'd just be like Roadrunner.
Yeah, like a cartoon puff of smoke as you're running off down the path. Yeah.
Yeah.
So good news. I got my
Well,
steelbook
good news for Gary.
today. I've literally
Yeah.
just opened it seconds before we started recording,
Yeah.
and it looks absolutely wonderful.
Oh, it really does. I can't
amazing,
tell
mate.
you how...
Just the feeling of holding it
Oh.
in your hands, Adam, and just looking through and the amazing artwork, and it's amazing. You should get one.
Yeah. I'm sure mine will be thrown over the wall by the postman any day now.
I was going to say
Yeah.
you'll find a warped, bent version that's been down the bottom of the glass.
I'll put money on it. Mine will be shoved through the letterbox, bent. But no, it really does. Joking aside, well, obviously I'm looking at it over Skype, but it looks fantastic, Gary. It really does look a beauty.
It's a beauty.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not sure what to do with the other version I've got. The standard one, the standard Blu-ray.
Are you going to open this? Because they look so nice sealed, don't they? But you kind of want to open it so you can see the bit inside.
Oh yeah, you can open it, mate. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
keep things in boxes or wrapped up. You know that.
No, but they do look nice all sealed up like that, don't they? Does
They
look
do,
really,
yeah.
really good.
They do.
Yeah, because I always find when you open it, the card bit they put around it kind of just falls off, and it's never the same once you open it.
Don't be so.
It's never the same.
Oh, it's never the same.
Well, I'm just thinking
That wrapper that I had in '86.
that piece of cling film.
Yeah.
Yeah. I imagine having a drawer full of all these old wrappers. Oh, this is a good one. This Daypole wrapper.
Yeah, this
Yeah, I
old.
remember this well.
Yeah, and I'll never forget the year that my mum threw away the great wrapper disposal incident of whatever year it was. You got to open stuff up, mate, unless it's like a really highly collectible, thousands of pounds worth of thing. Just tear everything open, get the boxes in the bin, and get it on the shelf.
Yeah, you sound like my other half.
Okay,
Yeah.
bit more. Just get to it. Yeah.
Yeah, just get to it.
Because
But
these
yeah, no,
things have been designed beautifully to be looked at, not to admire the shrink wrap.
Yeah.
Get it
It
open.
does look great.
Well,
so yeah, let us know, guys, listening, because I know a few of our listeners have pre-ordered this. Let us know if yours has turned up. Of course, this will be going out a day after we've recorded, so there's a chance a few more might be dropping through letterboxes, I guess.
Yeah, so mine came just with Royal Mail, so yeah, hopefully you'll get it when your next postie arrives. Has he been today already?
Not that no, he hasn't.
Could be.
So it could be. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't been down to the box yet, so we never know. The excitement mounts.
Whoa.
Yeah, you just know that he's not going to come, though. You just know it's not going to come today,
mate.
and I'm just going to be sat here looking out the window for the next 8.5 hours. But yeah, it looks good. Just before we kick off with all the news, did you hear about this Christopher Eccleston Q&A that went on last Sunday?
Yes.
In Newbury.
Yes, I do know of that, yep.
Because one of our listeners, Paul Burns, was lucky enough to go to it, and he sent us a little message, because obviously he's heard us talk about Chris, in the past, and we're never quite sure what to make of Chris. So I just want to share this with you because I found this quite interesting. So this is Paul Burns' little report of the day. He says, I thought you may be interested in a quick review of an audience with Christopher Eccleston, which took place at the Watermill Theatre in Newbury. Chris was interviewed by the theatre's artistic director, and his whole career was discussed with a brief segment on Doctor Who. Nothing really new to report, but he did reveal that he talks to his action figure into the early hours, which is quite an image, isn't it? To think of Chris sat there chatting away. I hope he's got a Slovene one as well. During the audience Q&A, Doctor Who wasn't mentioned at all. Now, that does surprise me, considering the amount of Doctor Who fans that must have been in that audience. I know Paul went with a group alone, so I'm amazed that Doctor Who wasn't mentioned. Chris was a bit nervous, but warm, chatty, and really engaged with the audience. Following that, and against all expectations, Chris did a signing session. This has to be the first time he's done anything like this, and he kindly signed one item for free and posed for photos. What a golden opportunity for people to meet the most elusive of doctors, who is nothing like his reputation of being grumpy and anti-Who. He couldn't have been more patient and kind.
Wow.
And I happen to be friends with Paul on Facebook, and I've seen pictures of him and the other guys that went to the event. And I have to say, I was so jealous. It was unbelievable. It just looked brilliant. They had like 2 or 3 pictures each with him. Chris just looked really relaxed. They all got stuff signed. I saw somebody that had got the Regenerations box set signed by Chris.
Whoa,
he signed photos of the 9th Doctor for Paul. And yeah, all of them were just saying it was the most amazing afternoon they've ever had. And these are guys that I've got to know through the Phantom Chiswick event. So obviously they've met quite a few stars over the years and been to quite a few things. But they said it was a really just amazing, surreal afternoon. And yeah, I just wanted to share that because I know we've talked about Chris before and what it might be like to meet him. And I'm just really pleased that he did that, because I guess he didn't have to sit there for whatever it was, an hour and a half, 2 hours to do a sign-in, did he? He could have just gone in and gone out. So well done, Mr. Eccleston. Your reputation is intact. And I, for one, am very impressed.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Let's just be clear that we've never slated him personally on the show. We've never said that he's had a personal crappy attitude towards anything like that. We've just mentioned a few times that compared to other actors, such as David Tennant and Matt Smith and so on, he's kind of shied away from doing any of that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
In comparison. So as far as, him as a person and he seems like a cool guy.
Yeah.
Very nice guy. It's just that we would like him to be a bit more active, I guess, in the whole fandom thing, like the other actors who have played the Doctor.
Exactly, mate. Yeah,
but then again,
Paul says that.
Yeah, but then again, that's maybe what's, that provides that air of kind of mystery about him, because he's not in the public eye all the time about Doctor Who. It does, create a good conversation about him about that stuff. So, but, that sounds really cool, though, that he posed for photos and had all the, was signing stuff. That's really good.
No, I think you're absolutely right, because, that's probably why it felt so special to those guys. Like you said, because he is so elusive, and they probably walked away from that saying, wow, I can't believe it. It's because of that, because he's not so involved. The fact they've come away with pictures and an autograph, all free, all just because he was, good enough to do it. No, money changed hands or anything like that. It's not like, they were, like a convention or anything. So, yeah, I think you're right. It's what made it so special, I would imagine, is the fact that it is so rare. And Paul even says in the notes, it's probably he's never really done anything like that before. So yeah, very, very good. And thanks very much, Paul, for sending that in, because it is interesting to know. And I, like you just said, whenever we've said anything about Chris, and I'm sure our listeners have got to know our personalities by now, it's always very much in jest. If ever we say anything, about sort of meeting him and him being grumpy, whatever, people know that we are saying it very much tongue in cheek.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. But so thanks for that, Paul. That was interesting.
Talking of Chris Eccleston, I don't know if any of our listeners have been watching The A Word.
Oh, I've heard about this.
He's cracking. Absolutely superb in that. He plays this grumpy old granddad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and at first, when I've watched the first episode of it, I thought they've cast this wrong because he just doesn't seem old enough to play play a granddad. But it does work quite well. It does work pretty well, and he's so funny. He's like the comic relief in this program because it's a very serious subject, the program, and it can be very not the happiest of programs. It's got little comedy elements in there, but it's very serious drama. For the most part, but he provides a really good, funny element to it. He's like the old granddad figure who's got to that age where people just don't tell him off when he says stuff that's maybe not politically correct, or he can just get away with stuff because he's like the old granddad sort of thing. And he's really good in it. He's just, like he was with Doctor Who, just spot on, really, really good. So, yeah, if you haven't seen The A Word yet, it's a really good show, really good drama.
Is that a BBC one or is that a US?
That is a...
Is it the one where he's got the autistic son?
Yes, I believe it's an ITV or a Channel 4 thing.
Oh, is it? Yeah, I remember seeing it advertised, but I haven't actually watched it. But yeah, all right, I'll give that a go. Yeah.
Or is it? Good. Or is it a BBC? I can't remember. It's BBC One.
Cool. Sorry. He's a good actor. I do like Chris.
He's very good. Yeah.
So have you been up to anything Who-wise, apart from watching our review episode later?
Have I? I've listened to my latest Big Finish purchase, The Labyrinth of Buda Castle.
Oh, yeah. How was that?
That is cracking, mate.
Is that McGann?
It's Tom Baker.
Tom Baker
and Lala Ward.
Tom Baker one, yeah.
It's just brilliant.
Is it?
I'll tell you what, mate, just as a standalone story, because sometimes you get these stories, because you were quite excited about the Doctor and Romana, weren't you? Yeah. And they're just straight back into it.
Right.
It's like they were never gone.
Oh, I really want to get that set.
And the story is really good. It's like a typical old school horror story, proper vampire, Bram Stoker, Nosferatu, that kind of thing. Really, really good. I mean, it comes to light towards the end that's not the case. I don't want to give any spoilers away, but I tell you what, mate, the script is brilliant.
Oh, excellent.
The Doctor and Romana are really good. The supporting cast is, for the most part, really, really good. But just the script, it just, honestly, mate, it's one of those stories where you start listening and then before you know it, it's done.
Right.
And it's just a really good ride and it's a great little adventure. So if you guys are after a Tom Baker story, you haven't checked out any Big Finish Tom Baker recently, that's a really good one.
Excellent.
So I'm really glad. So I can't remember the guy's name now. Somebody mentioned it on Twitter several weeks ago now.
The writer?
No, just somebody that we follow on Twitter just posted a picture and said, I've just finished listening to this. And I jumped on and thought, oh, that looks good. Because we were talking about doing Vampires of Venice. And the cover's got this vampire story on it. And so I thought, oh, this is good timing. And the guy's name escapes me. So I'm very sorry, whoever that is. But thank you very much for the recommendation. It's really good.
Excellent. I must admit, I'm looking forward to getting those Fourth Doctor adventures with Lala, because I was quite excited when they first announced those. I don't think we ever envisaged Tom and Lala recording together again. I don't know if they record in separate booths or at separate times. It doesn't really matter. The fact is that you've got that TARDIS team back together again. So I was quite excited about that. But I just need to get the series before first, because I can't possibly. My OCD just won't let me buy Series 4 of those adventures until I buy Series 3. But yeah, I will get them. I will get around to getting those because they sound good.
It's really good, yeah. So the Doctor and Romana, very, very good in that. And like I said, great script. I think it's Eddie Robson.
Eddie Robson, right.
Yeah, really good. Directed by Nick Briggs.
Ah, the Briggsy.
The old Briggsy, yep. Other than that, not much. Dug up a classic episode. and watched that the other day. One that we'd reviewed in the past, the old Black Orchid.
Oh, Black Orchid.
Yeah.
Oh.
I thought I just want something complete. I wasn't really in the mood for anything particular. It was almost one of those, shut your eyes, wave your finger around, and just when you open your eyes, just pick it off. So yeah, and I quite enjoyed going back and seeing that. It's I think we reviewed it reasonably well. It wasn't fantastic, but when we reviewed it, but it was all right going back and watching that.
I always quite like it. I have a real soft spot for that story. Yeah, I can't remember, I have no idea what we scored it at the time. But I've always really quite liked that one. Yeah,
we did quite well. I gave it a 7.5 and you gave it an 8.
Yeah, it's just one. I know it's not the best story in itself, but I've always just kind of liked it. Like you said, it's a real good one to just put on and a nice, easy watch.
Yes, exactly.
Even though the first episode is about 10 minutes of cricket, but I like that one. One day,
there we go.
I am going to do. I don't think we ever get through a podcast about doing that. One day, I'm going to do a little location shoot of that one because the train station is in Quainton, which occasionally I end up going through. It's not a million miles from me. It's not close, but it's not a million miles. So that's where they filmed like the train station bit. So I want to do a little location one day. I think the police station they use is a house now. So I can just might get in trouble filming that. But yeah, I'd like to go and do a little location. I've no idea where the manor house is though. I've forgotten. That's nowhere near me. But that looks quite nice. I think that's a private residence anyway.
Okay.
But yeah, Black Orchid, good little story.
Yeah. That's me. That's what I've been up to Who-wise.
Right.
I was, as we do quite frequently, look at potential conventions and meetups and so on. Did you see that one that we were interested in has been cancelled?
Yes.
What a bummer that is.
It really is, actually, because I know the guy who was trying to, I don't know him, sorry, but the guy who was trying to organise it really was, he was trying everything. He really was putting in so much effort and he got some really good guests lined up. Mm-hmm. And he was really honest with people as well when ticket sales weren't as good as he had hoped, rather than just ploughing on and with the chance of everyone losing their money. He just openly said on Facebook, look, guys, I'm going to be frank with you, tickets need to go up for this to continue. I'm not going to risk your money, but if you're thinking of buying a ticket, please book now so that I can get the ball rolling properly.
Yeah.
And he got so close, I think he just needed perhaps another 40 or so tickets to get to the amount that he needed to secure the hotel and all this, and it got to the point where he had to make that decision of taking a big risk with the money that he'd got and or just cancelling. And of course he didn't want to lose people's money and all that, so he just cancelled. And he's tried everything. I think he'd organised signed prints from Tom Baker for everyone that bought a ticket. I think it actually ended up being all the first 100 or something. Mm-hmm. So it was Genesis, wasn't it? Genesis
up in
is it Newcastle?
So, it was in the northeast. A guy called Dave who was running. It's a real shame because it's one of those things where we were looking at it a few times, weren't we? Mm-hmm. And I know for me personally, I was sort of umming and ahhing over it, not because of the convention itself, but whether I could get up there at that time to the northeast. And, when I revisited, I thought, let me just have another look, see if they've added any info or what's going on. And if, they've added any extra people or anything's changed, I might just bite the bullet and get a ticket. And then when I had a look, it was like, he's put this quite a long message on there to say, he's been completely honest and transparent about why, but he's had to pull the plug. So that's a real shame because I think if he had added maybe another couple of people, I probably would have got a ticket. I mean, it was looking pretty good anyway. Don't get me wrong, it was looking like a good one anyway. But for me, it was just the travel, and I think the dates. I was trying to work the dates out, but it's just a shame really that these things. Yeah, but he gave it a good shot though. He almost got there.
Yeah, and for me, it was just the travel because I don't drive and it is a million miles from me. But I thought the lineup he'd managed to get was good. And like I said, he seemed to be ploughing a lot of effort into it. You could tell it was going to be a good event if it had gone ahead. I think the thing is, it was great that he was so honest with people on Facebook, but it also might have been a double-edged sword because a lot of people might have thought, oh, I'm not risking it if it's going to be cancelled. It's so hard to say. I mean, I think he made the right call by being honest with people and saying, look, I need another 50 tickets sold and then we're all good, and sadly that didn't happen. But I think he did the right thing being honest, but it also, may have sort of put a couple of people off. It's a real difficult one, that. Not easy organising these things.
It isn't at all, is it? And I've sent you a couple of messages. I think I might have, this is like a while ago now, maybe 6 months or a year ago even or something. I think I might have had a few drinks, a few brewskis might have been loaded that night. But I remember texting you saying, I want to put on a Doctor Who convention. It'll be amazing. So when you see messages like this and stuff, and I know a few people who have put on conventions, not for Doctor Who, but in my sort of industry, my day job, like design and development and stuff like that, it's extremely difficult. I don't think anyone appreciates just how hard it is to get everything sorted and get commitment from people and get tickets sold and market it without spending lots of money. And I imagine it's extremely difficult. And then you said to me, I think you texted me back and said, have you been on the source, mate?
Yeah.
Or something like that. So I have thought about it a couple more times, but I don't know. It would just be insanely stressful and difficult. So I completely understand where Dave's coming from on that.
I think that the just to finish off on it, I think the thing I was really gutted about with this one in particular, even though it was very 50-50 if I could go, the thing I liked about it was I got the impression that Dave's done conventions before back in the day, and he wanted to do a convention very much like they used to be, so a lot fairer in price. And that sort of thing in terms of how many autographs you could get and how much you're paying. So that's what I liked about it. I liked the fact he wasn't doing a convention to make loads of money and whatever. He was doing it because he wanted it to be like, in quotes, the good old days, where it was about, people having a good time, meeting the fans, not having to spend a fortune, but covering costs and all that. So that's what I really liked about it. So that's why I was quite disappointed that it got cancelled. I'd love to have seen it, go ahead. Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Sad times.
But yeah.
Shall we land our good fair TARDIS and do some news and merch?
Yes. I had visions of Tom Baker walking through, is it The Face of Evil, where he's walking through the forest whistling like that?
That's right, yep.
It took me straight back to that. Yeah.
As you might have guessed, we haven't got any news this week.
There is no news.
There is little pockets and snippets of things, but literally nothing substantial to tell you guys.
No.
I think this is a first for us. I think we've always managed to dig around and find something, even small. But there literally is nothing to tell you, other than stuff that we've already mentioned. So on past weeks, we've mentioned that the Titan comics continue to come out, but we mentioned them last week. We haven't had the companion news yet. We've had nothing from the BBC about anything else. The Class announcement has been and gone.
It's a barren wasteland.
It is definitely barren, but we have got a bit of merch.
Yeah, I gotta say, just in case, I just refreshed the news site, just in case, because I always think, wouldn't that be terrible if we're like, there's no news, and as we're recording, like the companion's announced, and we just get off and like, oh well, that's another show wrapped. What? So I've just refreshed it. I can confirm there is no news.
Yeah, I've got because we dig around, because we must have about 7 or 8 different sources that we go to try and get news from, and Twitter and all sorts, but there's just nothing really happening, unfortunately.
No, there's not.
So we got a bit of merch though.
Yeah.
So a new book has surfaced called The Scientific Secrets of Doctor Who. And this is released in July. At the moment, it's down for July 7th. And just the synopsis is thus. Doctor Who stories are many things. Thrilling adventures, historical dramas, tales of love and war and jelly babies. They're also science fiction, but how much of the science is actually real and how much is really fiction? The scientific secrets of Doctor Who is a mind-bending blend of story and science that will help you see Doctor Who in a whole new light, weaving together a series of all-new adventures featuring every incarnation of the Doctor. With commentary that explores the possibilities of time travel, life on other planets, artificial intelligence, parallel universes and more, Simon Guerrier and Dr. Marek Kula show how Doctor Who uses science to inform its unique style of storytelling and just how close it has often come to predicting the future scientific discoveries.
I would love to read their chapter on the twin dilemma.
Wouldn't that be a read, eh?
About planets aligning and eggs. Yes, that would. I'd love to know if that's scientifically possible. But yes, so interesting stuff there.
Indeed. So
You getting this one?
Not sure. It could be a cool read. Depending on how serious they go, because it does say
it does sound serious, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it does say it's a collection of stories featuring each Doctor, and they try and weave in the science, the actual what's feasible, or what Doctor Who has predicted as science has come true and that stuff. So it could be cool, but it's not a bad price as well. The paperback's only $7.99. So it could be good. If
there's a chapter on Strange Matter, then I might get it.
On Strange Matter?
Strange Matter, Time and the Rani. No, I jest, of course. So yeah, again, not much else in the merch section, is there? But I did want to ask you, Gary.
Go on.
Record Store Day just happened last weekend. Did you manage to get anything of those two? Because there was two special releases, Doctor Who-wise. There was Genesis of the Daleks on blue vinyl and the Dalek Invasion Earth soundtrack on double yellow vinyl. Both looked fantastic. Yeah. Did you manage to get anything? No, same. And I've been scouring eBay. You do not know how close I came to bidding the other day. I was sat having dinner and the clock was ticking down. It was on like 30 seconds. And I was like, I want it. I was just really want both these releases, but I didn't. I literally had my thumb hovering over it. Didn't get them. And I saw that Silver Screen retweeted this guy. Did you see this guy that got the Dalek Invasion Earth vinyl?
Yep.
He got 001.
Yes.
And they retweeted it. And then someone put it, because I was actually going to put the same comment, but someone beat me to it. They were like, yeah, he got it. And then he bunged it straight on eBay for £275.
What?
Yeah. So I was like,
why would you do that?
Well, because that's what people do. But the fans don't get a chance to get a look in, and the people who that buy them just buy them to sell to make a profit. It's infuriating. In fact, I insist that you press the rant button because it makes me absolutely furious that real fans are denied the chance to get their hands on these things.
Well-deserved rant.
Yeah, I feel better for that. I feel better for hearing that rant. Yeah.
Oh, dear. I don't know what to say to that. Why would you... That's like a really, really cool thing to have.
Yeah, well, I saw that it was on... I saw it on eBay before I saw them retweet the guy, so it was a bit weird. So I'd seen that, the number 001, because they're all numbered, was on eBay for £275, and I was like, forget that. And then, I think it was the following day, actually, I saw that Silver Screen were like, hey, this lucky guy managed to find number 1. And then I was going to tweet and say, yeah, and he put it straight on eBay, but somebody had already done it with a link.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, yeah, cheeky. Yeah, I hope no one buys that because that's a ridiculous price. But I do want to get my hands on these. But, yeah, I'm looking for more. I think the Genesis went for £20 in the shops.
Yeah.
And I believe the Dalek Invasion was around 27 because it's a double. And they've been going for anything around sort of 40 to 60 currently, maybe up, possibly more on eBay. So I don't know. I'm not sure what I want to pay for them, but I do want to get my hands on these.
Did you ever pick up the old Caves of Androzani, the double purple vinyl?
No, I didn't. No, you got that, didn't you?
No.
Oh, I thought you did.
No, but you can still get it from Silver Screen.
Can you?
I think it's about £20, £20 £22 or something.
You sure? I thought that went ages ago.
They brought it back.
Oh, really?
Stealth,
I might get that.
stealth mode brought it back.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, that would be an awesome one.
Are you still thinking of getting the Big Finish one? What
The
is
Chimes
it?
of Midnight.
Chimes of Midnight.
I am
yeah.
indeed. Yep.
You're getting that, are
I'm
you?
just sold on it, mate. I know it's a lot of money, but
It's gorgeous.
meh.
It's going to look so good next to your steel book of Spearhead.
Do you know what? It's my money to waste.
Exactly.
Well, I'll say
Yeah.
waste. It's my money to spend.
Bend. Yeah.
And there you go. Anyways, talking of books, our friends at Milk Publishing,
Oh, yes.
yes, sent us a couple of copies of. This looks like a very good book. I haven't even started reading it yet because I'm still reading The Script Doctor, which is also very good. But they've sent us a couple of copies, and I'm going to give one away. You guys may have seen this. The cover's very bizarre.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, it's called Wallowing in Our Own Weltschmerz, The Old Adventures, and it's an Auton guide to the stories behind the stories of the Seventh Doctor. And just to give you a quick synopsis on this, Doctor Who is now in its 51st year and enjoying its 12th strikeout, 13th strikeout, 14th strikeout, latest of many actors to take on the lead role. Every era is different. Each actor brings their own style to the role. Each producer and script editor makes their mark, and Sylvester McCoy's era is probably one of the most divisive among fandom. So this is a story which is kind of like it's like a different approach to a Doctor Who story, put it that way. It's not written in the same style as you would pick up any other Target book or anything like that. It's basically, it's an Auton guide to all the stories behind the Seventh Doctor era. So another cool thing on here, it says the Auton guide is the stories behind the Seventh Doctor era, and it answers all the questions fans haven't been asking. So, cleaning robots. What can you actually clean with a drill and a saw blade? We tried. Who built the Rani's lair, and how long did it take? Harry's 70 plus. How old is his wife, and if she's having twins in a few weeks? What is the psychic circus so called? So it's a real fun, quirky, not your average run-of-the-mill story. It's very cool. And we're going to give one away. So all you need to do is answer this very simple question. Just fire your answer on Twitter, Facebook, email, whatever you like. And the question is, I'm going to have to say this right. Which famous British pudding does the Doctor yell at Davros to be unlimited? What famous British pudding does the seventh Doctor yell at Davros that's unlimited?
You've actually only got to add one word into what
Can you
you
do it,
just said.
please? Because we went through this like seven
that's
times
fine.
before we recorded.
Yeah,
and I was
that's absolutely fine. I think you've got it spot on. I'm sure our listeners will get it.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, and it's a very famous quote
Yeah.
from the Seventh Doctor. Just tell us what pudding that is, and we'll announce the winner. I don't know, next week's show.
Next week's show, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Facebook, Twitter, email, whatever you like. And we'll send one out to you. It's no problem.
Yeah, nice little book. It's the cover, like you said, is really cool. It's done in the style of, is it like the Virgin? Remember the old Virgin?
It is.
Doctor Who books. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Very
It's
good.
the Doctor and Mel riding a
New
bumblebee.
Adventures.
Yes.
Mm.
It's good. And I think we'll do there for waffle news, merch, tumbleweed, and other various stuff.
That's it. Let's leave this planet.
Yes, I think it's time, Remus or Romulus, whichever one you want to be. Whichever one you want to be. What are we doing this week, my good friend?
Well, Gary, let's leave this barren land. Do you want to go to Titan 3 or Gioconda? What do you fancy?
I reckon just because it's a very boring, slow week, Titan 3 might just send us over the edge. So Gioconda it is.
Also, there seems to be a lot of explosions going on in Titan 3. So, yeah. So this week, it is the Sixth Doctor classic, The Twin Dilemma.
Perry?
Yes?
How do you come by a name like that?
It's the diminutive of my proper name, Perpigillium.
Indeed. One morn, a Perry at the gate of Eden stood, disconsolate. Who wrote that?
I haven't the faintest idea.
Of course you don't. You don't even know what a peerie is, do you? Perry?
No.
I'll tell you. A peerie is a good and beautiful fairy in Persian mythology. The interesting thing is, before it became good, it was evil. And that's what you are. Thoroughly evil.
Doctor, stop it!
No, not even a fairy, an alien spy. Sent here to spy on me. Well, we all know the fate of alien spies. Whatever else happens, I am the Doctor, whether you like it or not.
Adam was just air celloing
Yeah.
his finest.
I love that note that comes in there.
Right. Jeez.
Twin Dilemma.
Where to start with this one, eh?
Yeah.
Right. So, some meta info first.
Right.
1984. Four-parter. Written by Anthony Stephen. Directed by Peter Moffat. No relation. that we keep saying over and over
We
again.
always have to clarify that.
Yes. And this was a four-parter.
Can you imagine if it was more?
Yes, I was going to say one of the most overly ambitious four-parters from the classic years, starring the fresh-faced Colin Baker
Yeah.
as the Sixth Doctor and Nicola Bryant as Perry, or Peregrine Perpigillium, as she's fully known as. So the Twin Dilemma is basically a story about these two genius boys who actually absolutely scare the crap out of their dad, apparently, because they're so brainy. They're basically like those annoying boffin kids at school who just get sent off to do like extra maths and stuff like that because, you know, us regular folk just can't keep up. So they do like these extra stuff. So these twins basically get abducted by a very aging Time Lord, which is weird because throughout the Doctor's entire run, he always complains he's the last, but all these other Time Lords keep popping up all over the place anyway. So this other Time Lord basically abducts them so they can go to this giant slug dictator guy to work out how he can how he can stop all of his eggs from being roasted by the sun or something like that. You have to be a bloody genius kid to work out the script before you even get into the story. Along the way, we have the Doctor, who is very much, you know, in and out of his fresh regeneration phase. So he's all over the place. He's attacking people. He's going mad. And Perry is trying to keep up and just, you know, trying to deal with the Doctor's, you know, blatant, you know, mood swings, whatever. And then we have these owl, bird, pigeon, strange type creatures who are servants to the giant slug people, who are kind of caught in the middle. And let's just get into what we think of it, because I'm going to talk myself round in circles about this, because you have to be quite intelligent, and I'm not, to actually get a coherent grasp on the story. So, Adam, what did you think to this one?
What do I think?
In general.
I think the story itself is terrible in terms of the storyline.
I'm glad you said that, because I was struggling there to try and make a terrible story sound interesting and in any way enjoyable. Yeah.
The storyline itself is terrible. But I find a lot of what's going on in this episode quite interesting. I think it's quite a bold move what they're trying to do with this new Doctor, so I like it for that. But in terms of enjoyment, it's a bit of a mixed bag, this one. But I find it interesting, because the first thing that absolutely shocks me with this is that they thought this would be a great story to introduce the new Doctor. just because it's basically about a giant galactic slug wanting to blast his sunproof eggs across the universe to take over the universe.
Yes.
That in itself probably should not have left the drawing board. But I do, but I like the fact that the Doctor's going through this regenerative crisis. Regenerative.
Yeah.
Crisis. And that he's a bit unstable and
Just a bit.
And although it's terrible, and we'll go into it more a little bit as well about why it's not so good. Although it is that, I did actually quite enjoy watching it. So I'm in a bit of conflict. I'm a bit like the Doctor himself, where I'm flicking from one side to the other, because I just was sat there the whole way through, kind of shaking my head and going, what, but I also, kind of enjoyed it in a way. So I'm conflicted. It's by no means good, and it's quite shocking. And I think it very often comes at the bottom of polls, doesn't it? This one is regarded as one of the worst.
Yes.
I have a feeling some of that is justified, but I have a feeling a lot of that is due to the fact that, very bizarrely, this was shown at the end of the series. So this followed Caves of Androzani.
That's right. Yep.
Which is really, really odd, isn't it? So we got this straight after one of the best Doctor Who stories, and one of the most, well directed, and then really upped its game. And then we get this, and presumably at this point the budget has all run out, and it's just a very strange decision to put it at the end of a series, and also to be in such contrast to such a great story, to get such a terrible storyline. It's just it baffles me. And I think there was quite a wait, wasn't there? So when this one finished, what was this one? This was in March 1984, you said, didn't you?
Yeah. Next
so
one
Attack
was,
of the Cybermen didn't air until January. The next
following
year. So
we
got one episode with this new Doctor who was acting like a complete and utter madman, and really not that likable.
Mm-hmm.
And you're left with that for all that time before you actually get to sort of see him again. So I don't know, that there are so many decisions here that baffle me, but I find it fascinating. So I'm in conflict. What about you?
I'm kind of the same. For the most part, I didn't really enjoy it.
Right.
But I did enjoy certain elements of it. And it is a very strange move. I do agree. It's bold, for sure, but it's very strange, because 2 weeks earlier, we had just one of the best classic stories. I mean, Caves is just, I don't know, I absolutely love it. It's one of the, we know where we're going with this. And then it follows up with this bizarre, it's just, well, first of all, it's strange, isn't it, that they decided to do this at the end of the series and then have, a 10-month break, 11-month break or something.
Yeah.
Before the new one. And back in the day, because we're almost time travelers, aren't we? Because we can go from March 84 to January 85 in a few seconds. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
But I imagine back in the day, there was no forums and Twitter and podcasts and all that stuff. You were left literally abandoned at the end of this episode thinking, I imagine a lot of people were like, what the bloody hell has just happened?
Yeah. I think a lot of people were.
Yeah. So it was weird. It's strange that that they just let the Doctor cut loose like that in this very unstable, crazy, sometimes scary character. And then you just left thinking, okay, that was weird. I wonder where they're going to go with that. So, but there are elements. So I think it is quite strange. I mean, it's okay if you nowadays it's kind of irrelevant because everything is released as a single story on DVD. Nothing's in, chronological box sets really or anything like that. So it's really not. It's quite irrelevant at the moment. But it's just interesting that they decided to do it as part of the same series.
Yeah.
Which is weird. And I also find that for me, the very first story of a new Doctor has to have an impact
It's crucial.
It's important to set off the new actor playing that role. It's important, that you kick off with, a better than average story. And although we'll come on to it in a little while, although I think Colin is very interesting in this, the direction that he took the Doctor, or how it was written, whatever, I'm more baffled why they chose such an absolutely dreadful story to kick off this new Doctor's run.
Yeah,
because every classic story has its problems to a degree. Some are more than others, but every story has like little niggly things that aren't quite right. But this one, as a story and as a script, was just absolutely dreadful. And it's one of those things, where you sit and you think about, after I watched, because I've seen this maybe, I think when I rewatched it this week for our review, I think that's the third time I've seen it since I've had it on DVD, maybe a couple of years now. And every time I watch it afterwards, I think to myself, the people who are running the show, so I think at this time, what was it? John Nathan Turner, and someone else. What the heck were they thinking? Surely to God, even they must have been taking some pretty hard drugs back then, or they must have just been exhausted and tired and just didn't give about it. But you would have thought to yourself, how on earth could you sit down and read that script and that story and think it was okay to start off a brand new Doctor's run with that? It's just completely mind-boggling. I just cannot get my head around it. I really can't. Because John Nathan Turner, we have to give him a lot of credit. He did a lot of great things for Doctor Who back in the day. But these little things like this, I just think to myself, what was going on?
Yeah.
What was he on holiday and somebody else just made the decision and then they got fired when he came back or something? It's just, so the story for me was just completely dreadful. The script, the story, some of the supporting cast was, I just didn't enjoy it. That's the thing. It just wasn't written in a way that I'm sitting there thinking, wow, this is the reason why I put on Classic Who, because I love it so much. I just didn't get any of that feeling at all. The only things that I got a good vibe about was Colin's performance. However arrogant you want to call him, however dark and all that stuff, he did make an impact, and he did completely change the Doctor's, the approach to playing the Doctor. So I like that. And I didn't at first. I think when I first watched this one, I thought to myself, what an egotistical, up himself, as I'm sure a lot of people did, but the more, now I've seen it a couple of times more, I think to myself, fair play. You're taking on that role. You've had Davison playing it a certain way for this amount of time. You had Tom before that. So now you're just like, do you know what? I'm just going to do it completely different and change it up. And I'm just going to make people sit up and go, wow, the Doctor's changed a little bit. And I like that.
It certainly does do that, doesn't it? I mean, Colin's definitely grabbing it by the reins and going with it, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
There's no doubt about that. And it is so in contrast to Peter's Doctor, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Because it, like you just said, it couldn't be more different, could it? I mean, Peter was the gentle, very British, terribly sorry.
Yes.
And Colin is like quite selfish, very egotistical. He's like, I could solve this in 2 seconds if I want. And he's prepared to sacrifice Perry to save himself. He's like, shoot her, isn't he? Or is that a different story? But he's very, he's very much, he's very much, I'm the most important man in the room, and he's very sort of full of himself. So very much a contrast. So we've got two stories, Caves and this one, which are completely in contrast. We've got two Doctors that are completely in contrast. We've got two Doctors' costumes that are completely in contrast. I mean, you talk about decisions and why they were made. Yeah. I mean, that costume, Colin's on record as saying as well that he just couldn't quite. I mean, can you imagine when he first went in and saw that? Can you just imagine what he must have been like? What? For the whole series, or just the regeneration crisis, or he must have just thought, oh my, Do
you reckon he would have done what his character did? So, do you like this, Colin? Like. He would have been like, "What the heck are you guys doing?"
Yeah.
Because even Tom's costume was fairly low key, with the exception of the scarf. That was just like the novelty there. The rest of it was fairly low key, and same with Peter's. It was just a cricket outfit with his stripy trousers.
Yeah.
But this is like a circus clown compared to.
And it's not just the coat, though, is it? You've got the yellow trousers, you've got the waistcoat, you've got his cravat thingy. It's just, he's so like he couldn't be wearing any more clothes. I don't think it reminds me of that episode of Friends where Joey comes in wearing Chandler's everything Chandler owns out the wardrobe. It's just like he just is swamped under this costume.
Yeah.
Luckily, Colin is such a big character that he does somehow amazingly stand out above it, which is quite an achievement in itself, I think.
Yeah.
I have to say, watching this again the other day, Colin is much better than I remembered, considering what he's given. I mean, there are moments when he's not great, and that's to be expected in a first story. But I actually. And I wouldn't have liked this at the time. I wouldn't have liked this when it aired. I know. I probably just would have, like you just said, been thinking, what have they done to the Doctor? This isn't the Doctor. But I like it now. Like watching it again, I'm thinking, yeah, I love this. I love the fact the Doctor's gone crazy. And I'm still not sure about the strangling scene.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
When you talk about decisions being made, on paper, just how did that ever... I just can't imagine them saying, yeah, this will be good. The Doctor strangling Perry on the floor. And it just, I don't know. I still think that's just a little bit crazy. But I'm liking Colin in this. I have to say, he was sort of making me laugh, actually. The fact that he was just so pompous.
Yeah.
That I couldn't help but laugh and think, oh, God,
But yeah, that's one of the things that that's one of the things that I noticed immediately. Well, not noticed, but just... let's take, for example, Matt Smith after David Tennant. Two very different Doctors. However, in that same sort of ilk, young, fresh-faced, quirky, zany, with that sort of thing going on. This is like just the complete other end of the spectrum, just in everything. So look, acting, skills, how they carry themselves. This is like completely... the other thing. And I think people pick up on that more. And the reason probably why we're talking about it is because what we mentioned earlier is that it's part of the same series, even though it's at the end, it's like part of the same thing. And it's like, wow, it's just like black and white, night and day. It's like pretty good. And you can imagine as well, Peter Davison sitting there because he would have watched it, wouldn't he? Because he's quite soft. He's like, yes, well, okay. We have a new Doctor. We don't really speak about that much. And he's very soft and he's very whispery at times.
Yeah.
And then you've got this guy who's like bellowing and shouting, and it's just completely. And for me, I like it. I like the fact that he brought in, that extra or that completely different layer of whatever you want to call it.
Gusto.
But it's just very jarring.
But you can see it's at the end of the series as well, can't you? Because the whole... The sets and everything look dreadful.
Everything looks like crap.
It looks like they've found every old bit of set they can find from Blake 7 to Space 1999, shoved it on. I mean, some of the scanners are covered in tin foil. Yeah, with a black lightning bolt down them. I mean, the whole production just looks awful. The costumes are terrible. I mean, that thing that the poor police guy or whatever he is, space officer. When he put that on, I was just laughing. I was like, oh, that poor man. He puts that like sort of blue tinfoil top on, and just happens to be the one costume in that massive TARDIS wardrobe that's got his gun bullet in or whatever it is. But yeah, I just think the whole thing just suffers majorly from being at the end of the series, because clearly they've run out of money, and we spend... One of the things I noticed in this, watching it again yesterday, is that we spend so much time in the TARDIS. Like, probably, 3/4 of this story is the Doctor and Perry and, what's the police guy's name? The space guy? Hugo, is it?
Hugo Lang.
Hugo Lang.
Yeah.
We just spend so much time in that console room, don't we? It's not just like the beginning of an episode. Normally, they'd be in it, land and out. We spend about 3 episodes in there back and forth.
Yeah.
You know, they have the odd little bit where they step out onto a sand dune, and then they actually go back in, and we're like, oh my God, we're back in the console room again. You know, I don't know if that was a money saving thing, just to, you know, didn't need a new set, but
yeah. I mean, it's also we also have those scenes where the Doctor's trying out his new costume, and
yeah. Well, I always like those scenes, but
yeah. When he picks up, does he pick up Troughton's coat?
He picks up Troughton's coat. He actually puts on Pertway's jacket. I'm surprised he could fit into it. I just imagine the arms ripping when he put it on.
Yeah.
The nice velvet jacket. Yeah, what else do we get? Because they kind of do that gag in the classic series.
Yeah.
They do it with Colin. They do it again with Sylvester, don't they? In Time of the Rani, he picks out the second Doctor's coat again and kind of do the same joke. But I love Perry's line when he picks his costume. She's like, yuck.
Yeah.
He's like, what?
Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it, where we still don't know as a viewer if he's going to snap, if he's going to go mental at her. But
isn't that when he does that manic laugh, that bit? He kind of falls into the coat rail and starts saying some really weird stuff, and then he like bursts into a crazy laugh, doesn't he?
That's right. Yeah, he goes a bit mental.
All a bit weird. Yeah.
So that's interesting, isn't it? How they treated the post regeneration strangeness in that one, because when we saw like just some other, you know, Doctors regenerate, it's been they haven't really been that unstable, have they?
No, Peter was a little bit, wasn't he? He's like spends a little while in the what's that thing they put him in? They sort of chop up a bit of the TARDIS wall and shove him in a like this white coffin sort of thing. I can't think what they call it though. Something chamber, I think.
Yeah, something like that. But
he's more the fact he's weak rather than Colin, who's just erratic.
Yeah, it's the same with when Pertwee came on the scene. He just collapses, doesn't he, out of the TARDIS?
That's right, yeah.
And he's laid down for a bit. But when he's up and about, he's kind of into normal, really. The same with some of the other Doctors. But
Tom's is brilliant, though. Do you remember Tom coming out the TARDIS and all the costumes? Like he does the clown.
The clown, yeah.
And then he's like fit as a fiddle, chopping the brick in half. I love Tom's regeneration bit, actually.
Yeah. So none of them really go in and out of this
go.
dark place and go violent or anything like that. So it's quite... I think you mentioned it earlier. It's quite a bold move to do.
Yeah, and in hindsight, I like it. In hindsight, I really like the fact that they just thought, right, let's do something different. Yeah,
it's good. Right, so we spoke about the Doctor quite early on there. We normally leave him till last, but he is an important part of the story.
Very much.
And for me, like I said, it's his performance really, and his moments on screen that, you know, kept me watching until the end of episode 4. Otherwise, I probably would have.
Definitely
picked up my phone and started just looking at Twitter or something while it was on. But
yeah.
Yes. Anyways, other cast members. Let's talk about the twins.
Must we?
Actually, no. Let's talk about Perry.
Okay.
As soon as we're going Doctor downwards,
okay.
Let's talk about Perry. What did you think to old Nicola Bryant?
I actually don't think she's too bad in this, you know, because I sometimes find Perry a bit whiny and annoying, where in this she still is a little bit whiny, but she at least is quite strong when she's standing up to the Doctor. And yeah, I thought she was all right. Again, better than I remembered. I was certainly not great, but you know, I thought she was all right in this. I liked the way she was a bit more feisty, because we've said this before. Perry very often gets very little to do than follow around with the Doctor, and they argue, and do you know what I mean? Whereas in this, she's like, yeah, I thought she was all right, actually.
Yeah, I thought she was okay. I think she still desperately needed acting lessons. But for the most part, I thought she was okay. Yeah, I mean, some of her episodes have hit and miss for me.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Perry, I think it's weird because I thought she was okay in Caves. The one before.
She's good in Caves.
She's pretty good, yeah. But yeah, I thought this one she sort of carried on that momentum really from Caves. Yeah. I thought she was really into it and she was very good. But one thing that I did like about her is she did play the whole scared of the Doctor, being very wary of because the companion always has that thing. I mean, to the extent where, do you remember when Clara was very, very sort of weary and almost not happy at all about Peter Capaldi. You know?
Oh, yeah.
So the first episode or couple that they were in, she right up until that moment where the 11th Doctor phones her and says something like, I look very different now, and it's still me, and whatever it is, that little conversation.
Yeah.
And then she gives him a hug or something. But up to that point, she was very, very strange. And I think Rose was like that to a large degree as well, with that regeneration. But I think she was like the first companion that really had that vibe of like, I really don't like this Doctor.
Yeah, I just don't know when he's going to snap.
Yeah, so she didn't like, even before he had those weird moments of when he snapped, even then she didn't really like him. Probably because he was very, very forthcoming and arrogant almost. But she she didn't really like him.
Well, Colin really throws her to the floor as well. You watch that bit. I mean, I'm sure they rehearsed it, but blimey, does he, when he's strangling her, he kind of grabs her by the shoulder and shoves her on the floor. It's quite like, I don't know if it's as rough as it looks, or whether they just, I don't know. But I was thinking, wow, it looks like he really throws her down there. I mean, obviously when he's strangling her, it doesn't look that you can tell. But when he throws her down, I thought, blimey, Colin's thrown all over the set, poor woman.
Yeah, and I wonder if they did that in one take or not, if they had to do that a couple of times maybe. But when he throws her to the ground, unfortunately, you can see all the scuff marks around the bottom of the TARDIS console and cables hanging out. And
cables, yeah, I saw the cables.
But yeah, so I thought she played that whole very scared of the new Doctor, very wary, not sure what he's going to do next. Right up until the end, even when even at the very end, where he still gives her a little dig at the end. She gives him a nice big smile, and from that point on that they're probably going to be okay. But even after that point, for the next series after that, he still gives her a few digs, doesn't he? He still, the relationship between the two of them is never.
I never get why she travels with him after this.
It's bizarre because he still treats her like, she's the tea girl. Yeah. Almost like, make the cup of tea and keep your mouth shut and do as I tell you. It's very much. You can imagine Rose like that.
Yeah.
Or no, it just doesn't work, does it?
Not good. Or can you imagine Donna? She'd have punched him across the TARDIS console, wouldn't she? That's what I didn't get, because I never understand why Perry would travel with this man, because he does treat her like dirt. And I know they said they planned to soften him. That was part of the whole big scheme. But they didn't really do it enough, did they? He's still too brash, even in the next series with Attack and all that, and Vengeance, and he's still too harsh as the Doctor. They didn't soften him enough, I don't think.
Yeah, they didn't really. That didn't really work for me, because the whole intention was to make him very unlikable to begin with, especially in the eyes of the companion. That was the whole plan, was to make him for the audience to be like, oh, I don't like him. I really don't like him. But then by the end, towards the end of his run, for him to have like turned it all around, and he was like this very likable Doctor, and him and the companion get on, swimmingly, and everything's fine. That wasn't really a payoff for me. I couldn't really see that, because, like you said, even towards the end, he still treated her like.
There's too much bickering. Yeah. That's what I don't like about it. It's just too much bickering. Because you think about the first Doctor and how agitated he was, and how he could be so. Moody and quite aggressive and that, but he also had a real charm to him, didn't he? He could switch from one to the other, but he had a sort of soft side that you could warm to him. Whereas Colin's Doctor, we don't see much of that. I mean, we get a little bit in this story with Edgeworth or Asmail, whichever, but we don't see much of it in Colin's other stories that I can think of. I'm trying to think now. I don't remember. There's not many scenes, is there, where we see much of Colin's sort of softer side? He's very often quite.
Not really. No, because I think he just settled into that. That's how I take it anyway. Even though they tried at certain times to do it, I think he just really settled into that, brash, very almost arrogant to an annoying degree at times. But yeah, so I think he just settled into that vibe too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Perry, I think I think she works in this. She plays the very dowdy, scared assistant companion pretty well.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah. The twins. The twins, Remus and Romulus.
Remus and Romulus. Can't pronounce their R's.
Yes.
Is that
Don't ask me if it's intentional. I don't know, mate.
because if it is, isn't that a bit cruel?
I don't think it is. Because I thought that again, because the times I watched this before, I thought to myself, their R's are a little bit They're a little bit
Yeah.
Jonathan Ross. And I thought that can't be real because they don't do it over the top and they don't do it, too much that you would think, oh, bloody hell, they're trying to do whatever the name of people that can't say their R's very well. There's a name for it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was I think that's their natural.
I would assume so,
yeah.
but it does seem cruel. They're called Remus and Romulus.
I know that is a really. Well, fortunately, they don't have to say each other's names, do they? They never say it. So,
No.
yeah. But what did you think to What do you think to their dad? Who's at the very beginning? He's just like this strange. He looks like a game show host. Yeah, he looks like this. Yeah, like he's gone off to present, Wheel of Fortune back in the 80s or something. And yeah, he's trying to school them on, having respect for their mum and all that lot. And they're just playing like weird chess, whatever. Just
What is that
don't
thing?
give a crap. They're just, and to be honest with you, I think we needed more of that stuff because I couldn't connect with them as characters. I think we needed a bit more of a backstory as to why these two are so important, because the only thing that we get told is that these two are extremely brainy and that's all you need to know. We don't understand too much about why they're that intelligent or too much about where they are or how protected they are and all that stuff. It's just, these two are two brainy kids. Accept it. Here's the rest of the story.
Yeah.
So I couldn't connect with them. I had no connection at all as to why, they were being, held captive, and I didn't really care that they were being held captive. And, if some giant slug was to burst in and eat them on the spot, I'd be like, okay. That was it. I just couldn't connect, mate. I don't know about you, but
Yeah, no, I'm the same. I feel sorry for them because they're just two young lads that were probably very excited to be offered this role.
with
and
the
they
most terrible haircuts as well.
Oh,
the old mushroom
haircut,
bowl
the
cut.
costumes, the dad in his tinfoil coat. Yeah, I do I got to give them a bit of slack because, it's not really their fault. They're just two young lads who have been thrown on set. Their acting is as wooden as two chairs. They literally could have just been picked off the street and said, oh, could you just pop in and play these two genius twins? Yeah, great, But they are terrible. There's no getting around it. There's no, like you said, no characterization. They are literally reading lines into the camera, and that is it. But it's not their fault. They're just, they would probably just, I don't know. They're probably just very excited to get the part, and but they're terrible. They're absolutely terrible.
I'm not sure how much it was written for them to be that way.
No,
I'm really not sure, but yeah, like you say, just completely wooden. It's like, the prequel trilogy in Star Wars all over again.
Who's directed this as well? The direct, like you'd think there is no gusto at all in their performance. I don't know. Maybe they were meant to be like that. Perhaps child geniuses just are very wooden with no sense of humour.
Well,
Nothing.
Yeah, that's probably why they're geniuses, because they have nothing else going on.
Nothing else.
Peter Moffat is the director.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So the twins, we can't really elaborate too much, I guess, can we? Because there's just nothing much to say about them.
I don't mean to be cruel. Yeah, I don't mean to be cruel, but they're not great.
Then that's just it.
Yeah, and the dad's
They're not great.
Not much better. And he's got no excuse. He's an older actor. He kind of talks into camera a bit, doesn't he? I seem to remember him sort of going, I don't know what he's banging on about. I can't remember now. But I know there's a scene where he's really worried and sort of talking to the camera and
yes, he's
giving the performance of his life.
Yeah. So like I said, for me, that whole character setup wasn't enough.
No.
And seeing as this story is dragged across 4 parts.
It's a bit like that Slug Trail, isn't it? It just drags.
Yeah, you feel like you're wading through drying cement with extra treacle thrown in. They had more than enough time in episode 1 to set those characters up quite nicely, and for you to form some sort of emotional connection, so that you didn't want them to be kidnapped and you were rooting for them to be saved and everything. But yeah, alas, it was just it was almost a walk-on part.
Yeah,
Say
that's
a
what
few
it feels
lines,
like.
yeah.
Yeah.
But in terms of direction, the Peter Moffat, we've mentioned him before. I'm sure he did a cracking story. What did he do before?
Oh, he's done quite a few, but I always get mixed up between Peter Moffat and there's another director. I can't think of his name. There's two directors that I always get confused which one's which around this era. Peter Moffat, who's the other one? Because of course I can't. All I've got in my head is Stephen Moffat. And of course, it's not Stephen Moffat. But yeah, there's one that's like a sort of older gentleman, and slightly camp, you might say. And then there's another one which is a much younger gentleman with black hair, and they're the two I get mixed up, and I don't know which one this is.
Yeah, so Peter Moffat, the story before this one was the pretty impressive The Five Doctors.
Right,
He directed that before this one, the year before.
Might be the older gentleman then, because I know that there was one.
This is the older gentleman, yeah.
Yeah, it's the older gentleman. Because there is one of those two which used to really, just the actors, he used to rub them up the wrong way. They found it quite difficult. And I think, but I think I might be wrong, but I think Peter Moffat was the one that they generally quite liked.
Oh, okay, right. He was the older guy.
Yeah, he's the older guy, yeah.
But yeah, The Five Doctors, which is a great story.
Brilliant.
And I remember that being pretty well directed, if I remember.
Well, what do you think? So do you think the direction is a bit lax in this one?
I think it is. I think there are certainly some scenes where it must be down to the age-old thing of not enough time and not enough money to do the things they wanted to do. But there's just a quite a large selection of scenes where it's just uninteresting to watch. It's just a bunch of people sat around or standing next to each other talking, and there's no camera movement. There's nothing happening. It's just that.
Well, there's a lot, and also there's a lot of mismatch between what we see on the TARDIS scanner, like the planet landscapes, and then when they walk out, it's like, hey, that's not what we like. The one on the scanner's dark and like
yeah, it looks like
they step out onto a clear blue sky with a beach, and it's like, hey, that's not what you were just looking at. And they do it with both, don't they? Like Titan 3 and Gioconda.
Yep.
Look like the same planet. I actually think they're different locations, I believe, but they look the same. It's just a blimming quarry. But they're nothing like what they're looking at on the TARDIS scanner, are they? That's probably not down to the director, though, but,
Yeah.
I've just Googled Doctor Who directors, and the one I'm getting confused with is Peter Grimwade.
Oh, okay, yep.
He's the other director, Peter Grimwade and Peter Moffat. I don't know why I was getting confused. And I'm not sure which one it is that used to rub them up the wrong way, but I have a feeling it was Peter Grimwade that the actors sometimes sort of didn't get on with, but I could be wrong.
Right.
It's when I read the JNT biography and also Matthew Waterhouse's Blue Box Boy book. I remember he was, there was chapters in there about these guys. Yeah. But I always get muddled who's who.
Yes.
Yeah. So direction, bit flat on this one. Doesn't really help. It's probably down to what he's been given to work with, but
not enough time to get it done, and so I think that's it. It's just very flat, and I mean, some of it, there was a couple of really nice sort of camera angles at one point when they're in the throne room, the giant slug dude. There's a couple of nice camera angles where the camera's up really high and it's looking down on them and it moves around a little bit, but just needed more of that, because it was just really flat and uninteresting to watch.
You're thinking about the bit where Mestor. You're thinking about the bit where he kills that guy for nicking some vegetables.
That's it.
Yeah.
Harsh, but fair.
Mind melt. Yeah. Don't mess with that guy.
Mestor.
Yeah. In your brain.
Yes. And what did you think to Hugo? He was almost like I was going to say, at first I thought he was going to be like a Dax kind of character. Not Dax, who is it?
Pex.
Pex, yeah. I thought he was going to be a Pex character where he was, playing a hard man, but then just crumbles. But he does try to do the hero thing and the authoritative thing quite a lot. And
I'm not sure what the point of it.
Yeah, I'm amazed he survived. I was sure when I first watched this he was going to get popped off.
So was Perry.
Yeah, but he ultimately survives and stays.
But what is the point of his character, though? Like, why is he even in it? I never quite...
Well, he's ordered to go because they find, after the twins get kidnapped, they find a ship that was supposedly destroyed previously.
Yeah.
They find it, don't they, in orbit, which is suspicious. So they're like, yes, this is where the twins must be because they've only just been kidnapped. So you go and pursue and rescue, but it goes into warp drive and buggers off.
Yeah.
So he has to sort of, go after them. And weirdly, he ends up in the TARDIS.
Well, he crashes. There's a lot of coincidences in this. A lot of things fall into place.
Yeah. Quite
nicely, in terms of that. It's a bit like him picking out that one outfit, isn't it, with his gun thing in, There's a lot of things that just coincidence.
Yeah, but, they take him back, sorry, don't they? He doesn't just appear in a TARDIS.
No, they find him
in the wreckage, and they take him back. And from that moment on, he's just really... Yeah, I mean, he tries to take control quite a lot. The Doctor slaps him back down into order quite frequently. But I'm just amazed. He always seemed like one of those characters that just would get killed. And I thought he did get killed because he gets zapped by... He
gets shot in the arm.
Yeah, and then he sort of goes flying back, and I was like, yep, there you go, he's gone. But then he's back up, like Rambo.
Yeah.
He's back up and does his thing. But he was, unfortunately, I hate to say it, but he's just another one of those people where they probably didn't see him act very much before.
Or after.
Yeah. His acting's very, just
he's not as bad as Pex, though, is he? He's not as bad as Pex.
He's not as bad.
No.
But yeah, I still think Pex might make a comeback at some point.
Yeah, again, probably quite hard to act in that jacket, I should imagine.
The old shell, what was it?
What is it?
Foil shell suit kind of old 80s thing. Yep.
Yeah.
And the guns look really feeble as well, don't they?
Oh, that gun.
Yeah, it's just
looks like a potato peeler.
Yeah, it looks like an old, it's just not very masculine at all, is it? It looks like a...
Yeah, I actually think he couldn't wait to get that jacket off because as soon as he gets to Gioconda, it's on the floor, isn't it? He's back into black with braces. Look, looks like someone out of a ska band. But yeah, I think I get the feeling he probably said to the guys on set, "Where's your jacket? What's his name? The actor, Kevin. Yeah. Kevin, we're ready to roll. Where's your jacket? Oh, I've gone and lost it." He's probably shoved it down the back of one of those tinfoil scanners.
It's typical classic budget constraints that we've come to know and love.
Yeah,
in classic Who.
I do think that the costumes are particularly bad in this one. I don't know who the designer was, because we may as well talk about the bird people while we're at it.
Yes.
What do you think of their costumes?
The Gicondans.
I just keep waiting for their false noses and stuff to fall off. I just can't. How the hell did they stick them on?
Yeah, I think they weren't too bad. I thought.
No, they're not too bad.
The whole feathers and everything. Yeah,
they look ridiculous.
Of course, yeah.
But they're actually not too bad. I mean, the main guy, Noma, is it?
Noma.
He's not too bad, is he? He's actually quite, gives quite a fairly decent performance under all that junk.
Yeah, he's not too bad. He unfortunately gets killed, doesn't he?
He does.
Yeah, which is a shame because he makes friends, doesn't he, with Edgeworth at the end. They kind of have a mutual understanding.
Oh, no, you're thinking of the thin... Which one are you talking about?
Or is it Drac? Is it Drac or Noma? One of them.
It's Drac, I think. Is he the one that kind of gets used as a
monitor
bug in the room? Yeah, yes, that's Drax.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
right, yeah.
Yeah, Noma is the sort of larger chap.
Oh, the one that begs the Doctor to take him with him at the end.
No, that's the Chamberlain.
Oh,
he cracks me up. He does. He's coming circling around, trying to get in, desperate to get in the TARDIS.
Yeah,
and I did love that line. The Doctor's like, "No, I don't like you. You're not coming." I thought I loved that.
Just to the point. Blunt.
The poor Chamberlain. No, Noma's the big guy. He's the big guy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
The big bird.
Yeah, I'm getting all the bird-like characters confused, but I did think they look good though. I like the makeup and the feathers and stuff. They were pretty good.
Interesting, yeah, interesting.
Because now this is the thing. We'll come on to the slugs in a second.
Slug, please.
Yes, the galactic slug. Sorry. I thought they looked like owls.
What, you mean Mestor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he looked just like a typical
Now you mention it.
tawny owl or whatever you want to call it, but which is weird because there's obviously a feathered a feathered approach to the look and feel of the monsters in this one.
He kind of looks like he needs a hug, Mestor, doesn't
Oh.
he? He's just this big old owl, with his funny little.
He's killing people left, right, and centre. He's obviously stressed out.
Yeah,
He
so
just
he
needs
doesn't
a
kill
hug.
Perry though. He said, "What does he say? He likes the look of Perry, doesn't he?" He's like, "I won't kill her. She's rather pleasing or something."
Yeah. He does need a cuddle.
He does,
He
and
needs-
he turns to soup at the end, though, doesn't he? Poor old boy.
Yeah, no butterfly for him.
No,
Just,
do you know? I like the voice though. I like the voice of the actor, Edwin Richfield.
That's it.
Apparently,
Yeah.
yeah, he's got a good voice for a baddie. But
Very,
again,
very theatrical, very typical bad guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
But he's kind of under that suit. It's quite hard to find him menacing. As I say, I find him more like that's too cute. Yeah.
He's always doing his thing with his.
That's probably all he can move. He's probably trying to get out the suit.
Yeah.
But they have to sort of help him up the steps, and it's not a great suit, is it?
No, and he's not very, other than like the mind melt thing going on, he's not threatening other than that, is he? Because if
Not
he
at
was
all.
like, right, I'm giving chase, you'd just be like, all right, well, I'll put the kettle
See you
on.
later.
And then when you get out here, mate, we'll run down the road a bit more. And then when you come to some steps, we'll just, have a laugh.
But that slug trail, though, if you stand in it, whew,
I thought that was
I mean,
quite well done.
yeah, you got to get a gun and melt yourself out. That's quite good. Yeah.
Yes, I like how he adjusted the level of laser intensity on his gun just by twisting the end.
Potato peel too.
Yeah, the spud gun. Just twist the end a little bit.
That's the word I was looking for earlier. Yes, spud gun.
Yeah, just twist the
Yeah.
end a little bit, and then you can go down to, whatever it is, set for stun. Melting cement level.
Yeah, melting galactic slug.
But that looked good though. The trail that they left, it's quite good.
Yeah.
Terrible acting when they actually got their feet out, but because it was, it wasn't that thing where, they were like, he's just like, let me just do one more time.
Yeah.
There we go.
It needed
Not-
a sound effect, didn't it? Like
Yeah.
it needed something to sell that scene.
Not
Yeah.
even a bit of residue left on the boot. Just clean
No.
out. There you go.
Very clean.
Edgeworth.
Morris Denham.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The old blast from the past.
That time by the fountain.
Yeah. Oh,
What
that
did go
time.
on at that time? Eh?
Yeah.
What did go on by the fountain? We'll never know.
I love how he acted the bit where the doctor's like, I know you. You're Edgeworth, so-and-so. And he's just like, huh? Like, who the hell's this guy?
Who the hell? Yeah.
Yeah, and it took him a little while to convince him.
It was. Was it supposed to be? Does he say it was like 2 generations ago or something? It's like supposed to be Tom's doctor, I think.
I think so, yeah.
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 I must just mention at this point, our listener friend Jay Kent
Yeah.
sent me a little clip. I don't know, did he send it to you?
No.
Where he overdubs some music, and I just can't ever watch this in the same light again. Like when he says, "Doctor, I too remember that night by the fountain," and then there's sort of what's the tune? Sexy music kicks in, and it just zooms in on his face. It's just yeah. So I can't ever look at this the same. But we'll never know what happened that night.
We'll never know.
Fountain.
By the fountain.
But can I just say, I
Yeah.
like, what should we call him? Edgeworth?
Edgeworth, yeah.
Alsmail? What do you want to call him? But that's the other thing. Why is he using this pseudonym? Who's he hiding from? What's going on? Is that anything to do with that night?
That night
by the
by the-
fountain? We just don't know. Yeah, I do like him. I do like the character. I always like it when we get to meet somebody from the Doctor's Academy. What's he supposed to be? Like an old tutor or something, isn't it?
Yeah, tutor from the academy. Yep. He
Yeah,
likes
it's
hanging
nice.
out at fountains.
Yeah, no, I won't go there. But yeah, I like that. I like the interaction with him and Colin. Did you shed a tear at the end when he dies?
I didn't shed a tear, but I did think that was quite sad because I was sad for him, for Edgeworth, because the poor old sod, he's run out of regenerations, hasn't he?
Yeah,
So
sacrifices himself basically.
So that's him done. So I felt sorry for him. But I also liked the Doctor's reaction, because they could have... I think that was in keeping with his new brash harshness, because they could have got him to act that the other way and gone very soppy and very sad and over the top. But he kept that quite... what's the word?
He didn't overdo it.
Yeah, there was no pantomime there, or like, oh my god,
Yeah,
like they do in some things with scenes like that where somebody dies in your arms. So I quite liked how they did that as well. The Doctor was subtle enough with it that it wasn't OTT, and I was gutted for him as well, because he must be living on, it feels like borrowed time, because not that you feel invincible when you've got regenerations left, but you feel like you got a bit of a safety net there. If the brown stuff hits the fan, you can come back. But this guy is like, nah, I'm all done.
Yeah, he's had enough. Actually, I think he's one of the better actors in it, actually. I actually think he's quite decent. Like you said, it's this nice little scene. The bit where Mestor's inside his head, though, just before he dies, and he's kind of speaking the words, but it's Mestor's voice, that does not work. That should have been done so much better. Because I haven't even realised up until this watch, because I've watched this loads of times, but I didn't even realise that he's mouthing the words of Mestor at that point, because he's supposed to be inside his brain. Did you realise that?
Yeah, he was taking over his
it
mind,
could have been done so much better, that. Like, even if they'd have treated the voice or done something, but he's not really in time with the words, is he? It could have been really creepy, that bit, but just, it didn't work at all.
Yeah, that could have been really scary. But it just wasn't done very well.
It's a good scene. It's a nice scene, that bit, where the Doctor cradles him in his arms, and then Edgeworth, or Asmail, gives him his ring, doesn't he? Gives him that giant ring, and the Doctor immediately gives it away to Hugo. Is that very sentimental? Is that just because this is the new Doctor and he doesn't really give a...
Yeah, I'm not... Well,
I was a bit surprised. I was thinking, your dear friend has just given you a little memento and, died in your arms. And the Doctor just gives it away.
Yeah.
For no reason, either. Yeah. Well, I suppose he thinks that Hugo's going to take control of that planet. Is that what it is?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. But I wouldn't... I kind of agree. It's weird that he gives the ring away.
Yeah.
Because one of the... This is a bit dodgy. But by sacrificing himself and killing Mestor, when he gives the Doctor the ring, he says that one of his fondest memories, and has no regrets about that time spent with the Doctor by the fountain. Cue the George Michael, yeah. So you would have thought that that's quite an because we very rarely get emotional contacts with, the Doctor and other characters like that. So you would have thought that he would have kept the ring.
I would have thought so.
As a memento of that night by the fountain.
Has it got some sort of power or something? Is there? Because I kept thinking, is it because Hugo's going off to take control? Is there something in that ring that's going to help him? I don't know. I just there must be a reason, but it went over my head.
Yeah, it just glossed over.
Yeah,
but there's no significance to it really.
No.
But yeah, Asmail, Edgeworth, whatever you want to call him, bites the dust.
He does, and he's good though, isn't he?
He is
like
good,
when when Mestor keeps bugging him, you kind of feel his pain, don't you? You kind of it's a bit like someone constantly texting you when you don't reply, and they're like, I know you're reading it, and you're sort of thinking, oh God, here he is again.
Yeah,
just when I thought I'd got away from him, he's in the blimmin' doorway. So he can't get away from Mestor, so you kind of feel sorry for him in that sense. But he's one of the better cast, I think. Yeah, overall the supporting cast in this very, very hit and miss. He's one of the better ones. I, like you, really liked the Chamberlain guy, the guy who's desperate to get into it, and he's not in it very much, but he's kind of don't know, he's kind of one of those actors that just you immediately get their persona, even though he's only in a few scenes, because he's just a bit of a creep, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
He's just a creep, and he's just you almost feel a little bit sorry for him when the Doctor shoves him out. Get out.
I found him quite funny.
Away. It's a nice little humorous little character. So I like him as well.
Yeah, because it's all too easy when you're cast in one of those supporting characters, especially as just a race of people. like the Giocondas. It's very easy, I think, to play them all very similar.
Exactly.
You're just, you're just spouting off different lines, but it's essentially the same character, So I like that he brought a bit of sass, a little bit of, forwardness to it. It's really funny.
Yeah.
And that scene at the end is very funny when he's desperate to get off the planet and stuff like that. And the Doctor's having none of it. And it's just really funny.
Yeah.
Okay. Mestor.
I can't get deep enough to that.
Yeah, he's the giant galactic slug.
It's not a role you get offered every day, I shouldn't imagine.
Well, don't know. In Doctor Who, I think a lot of people have been offered the role of space creatures, insects.
Space pirate, yeah. Green Death's maggot, yeah.
The Ark in Space, for example.
Third maggot from the left. Oh, yeah, Ark in Space, yeah.
They didn't even get anyone to play it, just a big polystyrene cockroach thing.
Yeah, falling out.
Anyways, Mestor, other than his voice, I thought he was, quite forgettable, really, as a Doctor Who villain. I wouldn't really, if someone said to me, top 5 Doctor Who villains from the classic years, I wouldn't think, oh, Mestor, the giant slug character. I think he was well acted. The voice was very good. And his death was quite good as well. I liked the death scene with all of his insides spewing out and all that stuff. That was well done.
Apparently they did, I think it might have been Peter Moffat, the director, apparently did think it was a bit gruesome. So I think he showed, it says in the director's notes, I think he basically showed as little as that as possible, just so that we got the idea. But I think apparently they did, it was a bit more gruesome in the original edit or something.
Yeah. Because those things,
we get the idea.
Yeah, because they can divide opinion, those things. When we reviewed the Tomb of the Cybermen recently, we spoke about that scene where one of the Cybermen's like writhing around on the floor and he's got his insides
popping out,
bubbling out, something like that. It looks quite harsh. This one wasn't nowhere near as harsh as that, was it?
No, it just looks like some blue, I don't know.
Toothpaste,
yeah. Toothpaste.
Yeah. But I thought that was quite well done. It's quite good.
It's all right. He kind of just melts into the chair, doesn't he?
Yeah, quite slowly and like he's having a
almost
huge
feel sorry for
fart. Yeah. Edwin Richfield, pretty good as Mestor.
Good voice, yeah.
Just unfortunate he's a quickly forgettable character.
Very much.
Yeah. Anyone else you want to mention? Anything else? Any notes? Any of your classic? Hold on, I was meant to mention this earlier when we get to the end of the show.
No, my only other note is about the music being very overbearing.
It's like, it was.
It works really well in some scenes, but in other scenes it's just banging away in the background like someone clattering on some bins, and it's just too loud and. Yeah, but it's, I don't know, it's very hit and miss with this. But
somebody clanging away on some bins.
Well, there's bits of it where it's going mad, isn't there? Like,
yeah.
But I did find the music a bit OTT in this, I have to be honest.
The theme at the very end, then the clip that we played is quite cool.
I love that.
Yeah, that's quite good.
That. The what do you call it? Cello, was it?
The cello, yeah.
Love that. Yeah.
So that's quite good. Nice little moments. Or a couple of nice little moments like that, music-wise. But overall, it was just I found it like a lot of things, really. Unless there's any standout nice themes or bits, it was quite generic. It was just a bit, there was no particular strong theme throughout this one.
I just found some of it a bit painful at times. I was sort of almost turning the volume down, thinking, oh.
Yeah. Like some classic stories, like I'm trying to think of one, City of Death.
Oh, yeah.
That has like quite a famous theme, and it returns quite frequently throughout that story.
It's nice.
We don't get anything like that in these. It's just a bunch of like you say, clanging around, and
very difficult to whistle the strangulation music, isn't it? Yeah, it's not the same. But no, that's all. That's all my notes pretty much. I do, as you're talking about the end bit, I do absolutely love that last line, which is so clearly sort of breaking the fourth wall, isn't it, with the Doctor saying, you might find my latest persona isn't quite as disagreeable as you think, and I am the Doctor, whether you like it or not. I just think that those last 30 seconds are genius. I absolutely love that bit.
Yeah.
Because it does, when it ends, you do, even though you've just sat through 4 episodes of a very dodgy story, I do think that end bit is just I was smiling at the end of it, thinking, I like it. I like that.
I like it.
Yeah, well, I like that last 30 seconds. Yeah.
Oh, you like the... Okay, yeah.
But that's it. I think we pretty much covered it.
Cool. Rightio, scores on the doors.
Oh,
You to go first this
no.
week, my good fellow.
No.
Come on.
I don't know what to score it. I honestly don't.
It
it's
can't
terrible.
be that difficult. Come on.
It is. It's terrible.
Really?
I kind of enjoyed watching it, so I
Right,
don't know. I've gone too high, but this is what I wrote. I wrote 6.5 out of 10. That's what I'm giving it. I may have gone too high, but I kind of enjoyed it in a strange way.
6.5.
6.5. You're going to go like 2 or something now, aren't you?
6.5. Interestingly enough, it's exactly the same score that you gave The Vampires of Venice last week.
I know. Well, funny enough, I was thinking that because in a strange way, I actually enjoyed watching this more, in a way.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But
Okay.
yeah, I'll go with that.
I will give it a 4.
A 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
Purely because, like I said right at the very beginning, I just didn't enjoy it very much.
Hmm.
And there's only a few sort of standout scenes and stuff like that. And as much as people don't like it, I do like Colin's approach and his performance in it.
Yeah.
Other than that, I just couldn't really latch on to anything else on it, mate. It was just one of those very slow moving, very mediocre, quite poorly acted classic stories. And I'm also very bemused as to why, as the first story for this new Doctor, why it's such a clanger. They should
It is
have
a
really,
clanger.
they should have brought in the big guns. I mean, I appreciate why it's like that, because like you said earlier, I think at the end of this particular series, there's no money left. There's no there's nothing that to do with what they had. So yeah.
Yeah. No budget. And the biggest crime, I think, in this, more than the Doctor's coat, is the storyline. You'd have thought, they got the whole season, they're working it all out, they're planning it. You just would have thought they would have come up with a better storyline. Because at the end of the day, this is about a giant slug who's got a load of eggs that he wants to scatter across the universe to take over the universe. And that is it. It's not a great storyline.
No. And also, just to finish up on, you would have thought also that they would have maybe given you an insight into what was coming up for the Doctor, because the end of this episode, it's almost like the beginning, where the Doctor and Perry, they're not off to the best of starts with things. And right at the end, he's still giving her the odd little dig. So it starts off with her basically like, oh, I don't like this new Doctor. And, he tries to strangle her and all the rest of it. And at the end, he's still giving her a little dig about, don't criticize my look or my persona and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then that's it. It's almost like an open and then a closed book. So it must have felt like, very isolated, like for Doctor Who fans back in the day. Like, oh, is this what we got to look forward to? Is it?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
These two just bickering and all that. So it's quite strange, but it's also an interesting direction.
You're right, because they had 4 episodes to get the Doctor's character across, and it doesn't really. He's still pretty arrogant and aggressive, and by the end of it, so yeah, you're right. They could have done a bit more with that. Yeah, like you said, especially as they're leaving us with that for all those months. But hey, here we are in the future. We could skip straight to attack if we want to.
That's it. Yeah, and incidentally, Attack isn't nowhere near as bad as this.
Well, you've reviewed it. I must admit, we haven't done that one together, and we'll wait till we get to that one.
Okay.
I'm never sure about that one.
Rightio. Okay. What did you guys think? Let's kick off with an audio clip. This is our good buddy. This is Alex Kingdom.
Hello, Gary, I'm from the Blue Box Podcast. Now, before I begin with my twin dilemma, I just want to go over the Vampires of Venice, because I had a few points in there that I'm sorry the clip didn't work. I don't know what happened. I did it through my system, it just didn't work, and I didn't look over it after I filmed it. Sorry. But anyway, I honestly like the Vampires of Venice. I think it has some great ideas. Yes, the vampires want fish. the fish people want vampires, but it's Doctor Who. There's going to be a scientific explanation. But now onto the Twin Dilemma. Why is it deemed so bad? I mean, I watched this in my. I went through the DWM magazine stuff, and I watched this one thinking, right, I'm going to hate it. I'm going to honestly, blimmin' hate this one. It's going to be the worst I've ever seen. But it's okay. I've seen a lot worse. A lot worse. I would not deem it as one of the worst episodes ever. Colin gives a fantastic performance. Perry is cool, and I just think it's okay. I mean, the characters I can't remember for the life of me, but it's average. It's not bad, and the characters they meet, especially that kind of guy that reminds me of Captain Jack Hartnell that stays on the planet at the end, is fantastic. But now let's get on to the twins. I've seen 5-year-olds that can act better. 5-year-olds can act better than those two idiots. I mean, what was even the point of them existing? The entire story could have been better without them. Just put in Jago and Lightfoot. It'd be more entertaining. I mean, it wouldn't make sense in continuity, but whatever. Anyway, guys, we're going to give the Twin Dilemma a 4.5. I think it's alright. It's just not brilliant. See you guys next week.
Thank you very much, Alex. Some real interesting points there. I love that. Why don't just stick Jago and Lightfoot in there?
Yeah, that would have been interesting.
Yeah,
good those stuff. Two idiots.
Those two. He doesn't hold back, young Alex.
No.
He's a good lad.
Like it.
On Facebook, Finn Walsh says, I actually really like this story. Found it as an enjoyable episode. As Adam knows, I have a soft spot for Time and the Rani, and this episode I definitely have a soft spot for, and he'll give it an 8 out of 10.
Oh, right, okay.
Cheers, Finn. Ben Smith says, I don't get all of the hate for this episode. Sure, it's not perfect, like the annoying twins and the silly slugs, but it's a simple, enjoyable episode, which is what you want from a Doctor Who debut. I can see why back then people wouldn't have liked it, but now with the hindsight of Colin's development, it works very well. He gives it a 7 out of 10. Danny Brown says, this story has literally nothing to offer. Dreadful plot and terrible writing, not one I'd ever pick up off the shelf. 2 out of 10. Have a good show.
Cheers.
Sammy Satine. She says, so the Doctor is suffering post-regeneration so much, he tries to strangle Perry. Decides to wear Joseph Technicolor Dreamcoat and nearly has a breakdown so bad he contemplates dying. Contemplating the absolute is the way a Time Lord is supposed to die if you believe Missy. What a mess. Luckily he manages to pull himself together in time to save everyone. I don't like the twins, Romulus and Remus. They're a bit annoying. Slugs are not that threatening except the leader, who is kind of threatening. Asmael all seems like a nice guy who got himself in a pickle. I think the episode is okay, not badly paced. I've come around a bit to Colin's Doctor recently, and I think his interaction with Perry in the end was also directed at the audience. That's a good point. I suppose he wanted to reassure people he's still the Doctor. I like Colin, and I also like Nicola and Perry. 6 out of 10, only because he tried to strangle poor Perry.
Yeah, I like the bit Sam is referring to as well, about the bit where the Doctor says, I shall become a hermit, and poor old Perry is he's like, not even question it, he's like, yeah, and you're gonna be by my side all the time. She's like, what?
Essentially enslaved.
Yeah.
But that's a good point that Sammy brings up, though, because at the end I think that's for the viewer's benefit as much as it is Perry's.
Yeah, very much so.
I'm still the Doctor. Continuing on with the audio clips, this is our good friend Jay Kent.
Hey Gary and Adam, now the Twin Dilemma. I have the impression that this was an episode not all that popular, but I'm not exactly ashamed to say that I enjoyed it. While it may not have been the perfect introduction to 6, the story I found enjoyable. The Jacondans, I think, look beautiful with their feather moustaches, and I loved that we got an insight into their culture and mythology, because I love when stuff like that happens. I will say for 6's first story, his introduction seemed interrupted by the eyebrow bowler cut boys, and perhaps his first moments could have been something better than just crying in the corner in the middle of a clothes rack. I found Perry kind of whiny in this, but I suppose she had the right to be, with almost being killed by the Doctor. Also, what happened to the dad of the twins? If they just stayed on Jaconda, are they just presumed dead where they originally came from? I also really liked Asmael's character, I think his name is, but I think with what happened to him and the Doctor, with them splashing about in the fountain, can stay between them for all I'm concerned. Nevertheless, I came out of this pleasantly surprised and will give it a 6.5 out of 10. And that's just my opinion, whether you like it or not.
Nice one, Jay. Jovial as always. Thank you very much. Right, back on Facebook. Lewis Palmer says, I have claimed in the past that this is my least favourite story ever to be produced. Ooh. Is that still true? Partly. I think if I had to describe this in a word, it would be boring. The twins are boring, the slug creature thing is boring, and the plot doesn't make a lick of sense. It baffles me that they thought a story like this would be good enough to launch a new Doctor on. I completely agree, Lewis. He goes on to say, the strangling scene is something which I don't really mind. I've only ever watched this once. This and The Leisure Hive are my two least favourite stories, I think. It isn't even laughably bad. 1.5 out of 10.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. Lastly on Facebook, Jeff Waddle says, this is the only Doctor Who story, in brackets, that exists that I have never watched in its entirety.
Wow.
20 minutes into episode 1 was enough for me. The bizarre decision to have this as the final story in a season just didn't work. And despite Colin Baker redeeming himself later on, it was rubbish like this that sounded the death knell of Who. The twin dilemma, the dilemma being which one of the twins would you punch first? Jeff gives it a 1 out of 10. Jeff, wow. We know you've been harsh and you've been not that pleased with some Who in the past, but I think that's one of your best comments there. Which one of the twins would you punch first? That is a dilemma.
Where are they now?
Yes, where are they? I don't think they've been in anything. I know they've played a couple of extras in a couple of Who stories after this, but I've not seen them in anything since. So I could be wrong. They could be Hollywood stars by now, and I wouldn't have known.
Actually, yeah, I think isn't one a director? So I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But yes, so that's on Facebook on the official Big Blue Box page. Let's finish up with an audio clip. This is from Who Addicts Reviews, Matt Rowney.
The Twin Dilemma. Now, my memory is a bit hazy on the Twin Dilemma, and that's because I've not seen it in quite a while. I watched it once and I've not seen it since, and there's a mighty good reason as to why I've not seen it since, and that is because, to put lightly, it's goddamn awful. Now, from what I do remember, the story was boring, the characters were very unengaging, very one-dimensional, and the two twins that this episode revolved around were the worst. Every time they came on screen, every time they appeared, every line of dialogue they had just annoyed me, and I really didn't like them. But it's not the story that annoys me the most about this episode. It's the context, it's the timing, it's the production, it's everything outside of the narrative as well. I mean, what I don't understand is it's the Sixth Doctor's first story, and at every Doctor's first story you've got to give them the best possible first impression to the viewers. What do they go and do? They make him strangle his companion. I mean, Colin's first words in themselves were a little bit egotistical, but him strangling his companion with the music, I mean, it's like a horror movie. It was hard to watch when I first seen it. I mean, I knew that he strangled her in the Twin Dilemma, but when I first seen it, I was taken aback by it. I couldn't believe it. It was shocking. So that just took Colin's Doctor off on the completely wrong foot with viewers. And throughout the episode, he was just really abrupt, really rude, really abrasive, and it just gave off the worst impression. And not only that, but it aired 1 week, just 1 week after the masterpiece that was Caves of Androzani. And then after this, that was Doctor Who gone for at least a year until they came back with Attack of the Sidemen. So they gave you a slight taster of the Sixth Doctor, a really bad taster, and then let it go for an entire year. They could not have handled Colin's introduction any worse. It is possibly... No, actually, I'm in no doubt. It is the worst post-regenerative story of all time, and I just don't get what they were doing with it. I don't get where they were going or any of that. So for me, the Twin Dilemma, it's probably going to get a 1 out of 10, and that's because it's Doctor Who. Other than that, I can't find a single solitary positive. So, yeah, 1 out of 10 for the Twin Dilemma, guys. And, yeah, apologies if I sound ill, because I'm very ill right now. But, yeah, take care, and I'll see you next week.
Cheers, Matt.
Cheers, Matt. Nice to hear Billy, Matt's parrot, chipping in the background there. I always like it when we can hear him.
Always
just tweeting away.
Yep.
Get well soon, Matt. I know you're under the weather.
Yeah, appreciate still doing a clip, mate, because I probably shouldn't say this, but the first 10 seconds or so of Matt's clip was basically like, Gary, I'm really ill. I'm probably going to cough and splutter all over this, so please edit out all the coughs and stuff. But fair play to Matt, there was no coughs that I had to edit out or anything, so thanks a lot, buddy.
And I want to know, does Matt consider this worse than Time and the Rani then? Because me and Matt have this ongoing thing, because he knows I like Time and the Rani, and he's saying this is the worst regeneration. So
okay.
Does that mean it's worse than Time and the Rani?
Oh.
I'm taking it that it is.
Well, it is.
Okay. Confirmed.
Anything over on Thou Geek's handbag?
Oh, yeah. God, why am I never ready these days?
Oh, Christ.
Because I enjoy listening to the clips so much. My phone switches off. Yeah, we had a couple. We had Callum MacArthur. He says, this episode is awful, but I like the line, I am the doctor whether you like it or not. He's giving it a 1 out of 10. Good grief. Joseph Hayworth says, hate this story completely. I had a painful experience. It was the worst 100 minutes of my life that I won't ever get back. So, yeah, not a fan. Brendan Day, what do I think of this episode? I try not to. But in the hours before daylight, as I wrestled the duvet and failed to succumb to Morpheus, I have been known to reach for the silver disc upon which this is written, and blessed relief sleep takes me, he says. I can dream of greater tales for the multicolored doctor, whether you like it or not. Thanks, Brendan. Nick Richards says, really? I don't think I have the words. Poor Colin had some shocking stories. This has to be up there. I watched it when it aired and got the DVD when it came out, and yep, still terrible. In defense of Colin Baker, I will say he's probably my favorite Big Finish Doctor, but there were very few TV highlights, says Nick. And finally, Sean Hughes. Hi, Sean. He says, I quite like this story simply for Colin Baker's performance. Despite his moments of madness earlier on in the story, nevertheless, Colin Baker arrives as a powerful force of self-assurance and certainly makes an impact. He brings back that unpredictability to the role. So, yeah, I really like the story, Sean says.
Okay.
I agree about the unpredictability, because they did that a bit with Capaldi, didn't they? This sort of unpredictable Doctor, and I kind of like that as well.
Yeah. Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Thank you very much for your thoughts and clips and summaries, guys. Next week, what are we going to do?
Next week, it's our old friend Christopher Eccleston. It's a Ninth Doctor story. So we'll be looking at The End of the World. Is that what it's called?
The End of the World.
I realised I put that in without checking.
It is, yeah. Yeah.
Because it just never sits right with me in that title. So that's the second story in his series, isn't it?
It is, yes.
The End of the World,
and it's a very definitive title. It's almost, what if you've never seen it before? What can you expect from something called The End of the World?
End of the World.
Yeah.
Well, it's got that little blue fella in it that you said I should cosplay as.
Yes, that's right.
The Mox of Balhoun.
The Mox of Balhoun. What a wicked name. The Russell T Davies era had so many cool names for things.
Yeah.
One that we liked recently was Poosh.
Oh, I love, Poosh.
Poosh. And now the Mox of Balhoun.
And there's loads of good ones in this, actually, but we'll save them for next week. Yeah. There's like a whole array of aliens in this story, isn't there?
Yeah, it's cool.
From what I remember. Yeah.
Yes, so Ninth Doctor travels next week.
End of the World.
Yes. And I think we'll wrap there for 87.
Okay.
Thank you so much for sticking with us for this, quite a long episode, seeing as we didn't have much news or any news to go through.
We've always got plenty of waffle to fill up the podcast.
I think the waffle took over.
Yeah.
Which is good. And like I said earlier, I hope in some way, shape or form, we're helping you through the drought, the Doctor Who dark times, as it were, at the moment. Jump over to the website, www.bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to this episode again if you so choose to do so, and all of the previous episodes, and you can also jump from there over to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and iTunes to subscribe and all that stuff. And if you are an iTunes listener, if you could give us a rating and a review, that would be amazing and awesome, and we'd love you very much. Remember the giveaway for the book. Just send us your answer to the question: what famous pudding does the Doctor scream at Davros that is unlimited? Unlimited something. What is it? Just tell us what it is and we'll get the book posted out to you. It looks like a really good book as well.
It is a good book.
Good story. Remember to check out Adam's channel, The Geek's Handbag. You can find him on YouTube and Facebook. Go and check out all of Adam's videos. Loads and loads of good stuff. Unboxings, reviews, location shoots, convention roundups, the whole shebang.
Yeah, go back and check out all the vids you haven't watched, because my new job is killing me at the moment and I just haven't had a chance to do any new stuff. But there is new stuff coming, but very, very soon as well. But in the meantime, please go and check out all the other vids. Hopefully there's some good stuff on there that you'll enjoy.
You can lose an hour or so just browsing through Adam's videos. Really good stuff on there. We'd look forward to hearing your thoughts on next week's episode, Chris Eccleston's story, The End of the World. Should be a good review. Just look out for the post on Facebook and Twitter, whatever, and we'd look forward to hearing your thoughts. If you want to send us audio or a video clip, that would also be amazing. We'll play those ones out as well. But please try and keep it, if you can, to around a minute long. No more. Right, I think we're going to do that. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember, Lozzie.